Welcome to study session 10, Teaching Listening Comprehension in a Foreign Language. Introduction. In this session, you will be discussing the need to teach listening comprehension in a foreign language. You will also be talking about the nature of listening comprehension in a foreign language. You will also be learning strategies for teaching listening comprehension in a foreign language. And lastly, you will be exploring practical suggestions for listening improvement programs. Learning outcomes. When you have studied this session, you should be able to 1. Identify the need to teach listening comprehension in a foreign language. 2. Discuss the nature of listening comprehension in a foreign language. 3. Outline strategies for teaching listening comprehension in a foreign language. 4. Explore practical suggestions for listening improvements. Establishing the need to teach listening comprehension in a foreign language. Since our focus in this session is to highlight the demands of teaching listening comprehension in a foreign language and help our students plan suitable systematic training programs, we will want to first establish a need for examining possible listening comprehension problems that children manifest before determining the appropriate needed training programs. Being pupils who must learn other subjects in the curriculum through the medium of English, members of a society who must use English as an official language, Nigerians who must benefit from television and radio programs, and human beings who must interact with other people outside their immediate environment. It will be necessary to train these young ones in the art of listening successfully. Listening comprehension problems that people have. Most of the problems the school children have in listening to oral discourse in a foreign language stem from their partial proficiency in all the components of English language, but there are still other general manifestations which include a. Non-familiarity with the English culture, which exerts great influence on the overall understanding of English discourse. B. Lack of knowledge of the phonological, lexical, syntactic, and semantic properties of English. C. The unfamiliar use of familiar English words and phrase. D. Inability to identify the topic of a conversation and inability to make immediate relevant reply. E. Processing of incoming speech in meaningful chunks. F. Inappropriate application of background knowledge leading to misinterpretation of total silence. The nature of listening comprehension in a foreign language. Similar to our discussion in session 4, listening comprehension in a foreign language, that is English in Nigeria, involves the level of recognition and selection. The recognition level. To comprehend English utterances successfully, the pupils must be able to identify words, phrases, and sentences which are structurally interrelated. Secondly, such recognition must be automatic before they can reproduce and respond. The recognition level subsumes perception and interpretation of the signals. The selection level. Selection is the art of drawing out the speaker's or self's purpose for listening. It also involves selection of facts from utterances that can be held in memory in order to relate it to other situations later. If a pupil's selection level is poor, he will not be able to absorb much at a time. He therefore misses the point of what he has heard. In addition, he misinterprets high information items. Consequently, he misses the teacher's, parent, or speaker's important information and renders useless the purpose of the communication has. From our previous discussion, it is pertinent to mention the role of retention. Retention is the recall of what is listened to. It is manifested in reaction and response verbally or non-verbally. A communication act is incomplete without a form of response. Strategies for teaching listening comprehension in a foreign language. Need for training. There is need for training the pupils at the recognition level and much practice in selection from streams of sounds. Training in recognition must start with graded and well-designed oral materials. The skills to be developed must be embedded streams of speech the pupils are familiar with and that they can quickly react to. A. Asking questions at appropriate time to clarify points not genuinely understood rather as ways to find fault. B. Identifying the speaker's developmental techniques so as to be able to follow his train of thought and general structure of the message. C. Withholding evaluation of the message until the speaker has finished. Remember that you cannot dictate the procedure the speaker should adopt. The proper place for his examples, illustrations, and elaborations cannot be fixed by you. D. Repressing the tendency to respond emotionally to what the speaker says. Concentrate on the message and not on the emotionally laden words. E. Building your vocabulary as much as possible. This suggestion will enable you to have meaningful associations for the word symbols generally and be able to understand what the speaker is saying particularly. Practical suggestions for listening improvement programs. Having discovered the listening comprehension problems your students or your untrained mates have, the next step is to devise well-defined, properly planned developmental programs that will not only correct or change undesirable listening habits, but also will develop active, profitable listening. Here are a few suggestions for carrying out such programs. 1. Analyze the materials that are meant to be listened to. Each one must have its special purpose. Some recorded programs may be devised to correct certain undesirable attitudes, while others may be all how to improve abilities to listen for own ideas, relevant details, or just mere examples. Yet, another set of programs may be set of improving students' language proficiency, ability to detect falsehood, bias, and misrepresentation. Yet, others can be planned to help listeners to note paralinguistic cues in particular species or make inference from what speakers have said, recorded or live presentation of oral reports, complex directions, discussion sessions, broadcasts, newspapers, editorials, newscasts, musical lyrics, and dictation of graded passages will serve as good examples. You can start from simple stories to very complex discourse. Relate what subjects hear and understand with what they read. In other words, ensure that recording relates to your subject's interests, vocations, and professions. 3. Record lectures on tapes and ask questions to take notes from them. Ask students to exchange notes and discuss omission and other note-taking problems. 4. Make listening session lively and rewarding by encouraging every member of the group to participate actively and willingly. Analyze respondents' errors and correct them without prejudice. Repeat exercise to encourage self-analysis and corrections. Serve as facilitator and not as a dictator. Allow individuals to express their personal views and opinions while other participants listen and contribute. Watch out for personality problems and correct or modify them promptly and maturely. Give adequate exercise and monitor progress. Devise programs that will suit individual and communication situations. Evaluate subjects' performances, appreciate their improvement, and encourage individuals to carry out independent improvement efforts. Study session summary. In this study session, you have learned practical solutions and discussed tested strategies for identifiable listening comprehension problems in learners, the primary or junior secondary school, who are not only used as a second language but also have not been adequately exposed to the use of English. End of study session 10. Thanks for listening.